Today I've got all sorts of jobs to do, and I've got some new tech, and this is it. You're on it right now. So yeah, set you up in a different location. Well, we're still in the shed, aren't we, obviously, but you're pointing in a different direction for once, because you're actually on a massive tripod now, which looks really weird. I'm going to end up kicking it over loads, I know I am. It's huge. I'm going to say it's got massive spread legs, but it sounded a bit rude, that. But it does. It's proper in way at door. Anyway, I'm going to have to look at my book and see what I'm doing today. And it's today, isn't it? I'm meant to be doing it right now. So, yeah, round that new bed, yonder, at the end, I've got to sort the paths out, the slippy paths. So, yeah, I've got some weed suppressant to put down. I may have to think about doing a bit of levelling up as well, because there is a bit of a dipped area. I mean, I could just sort of put loads of bark chip in that and it'll sort itself out over time. But really, I feel like I should be building it up under the weed suppressant and then, have a flat surface. But I might have to take path of least resistance there and just get it done. Like I was saying before, done is better than perfect sometimes. I've got broad beans to do as well. I look back in my little diary at what I did last year. I've sacked off doing them at the back end of the year before, autumn sown. Because a couple of years ago, I put them out and they were doing really well. And then we had a load of snow and it was quite cold for a while, so the snow hung around a couple of years ago in March. And it really knocked them. Some of them I lost and I had to re-sow them in March. And they were alright, the ones that I did in March. I mean, yeah, alright, they might be a little bit later, but they were fine. They were fine for me with those. So now I just don't take the risk and I just do them early spring, so we're just into the start of February, and I look back in my book and I'd done them about now, and they sat in the greenhouse whilst all the storms were going on that broke the greenhouse glass twice at the start of last year. In fact, by this time last year it had already had one calamity. There were loads of glass smashed in it and that sort of thing. Oh god, it was awful with that, because it was brand new brand new to me, wasn't it? I just put it up at the back end of the year before, November 2021 I put it up, and yeah, by February 2022 it were a little bit broken already. Yeah, and the broad beans were in my little propagator, sown in the little loo roll tubes and germinating just fine, and sat, just weathering it, literally, just sat germinating through all that and glass flying and stuff. So I'm going to do the same again, but hopefully without the glass flying. And I've got me stash of loo roll tubes, collect these through the year. I mean, some of them go on compost heap. I can do sweet peas in them, I can do beans, I can do other types of beans, when time's right. There's all sorts you can do in them. You can cut them in half and you can use them for anything pretty much, like your regular plants that don't send a big long root down like beans do. Yeah, probably even sweet corn. And some people are here. It's amazing. I've been up here so often on my own, over winter, and actually we've got a couple of pals have turned up. Oh, right, now this might not happen, but I think I'm going to measure how wide the bench is in the greenhouse, and I may put it against this wall in the shed as well, because I think I'm going to try and set up a different racking system in the greenhouse, because it took up a bit of room, did that, and I want to get more tomatoes in and maybe use the back wall as well as the front wall for tomatoes. So I may have to do my little jobs on my bench in here, but the rolls and things, the rolls of net and the plastic sheeting, that can sit underneath it all, so I don't actually think it's going to be too detrimental space wise, but I've just got to check if the thing fits in here and if I can physically sort of manhandle it in, because again I'm going to have to shift a load of stuff, aren't I, to get it in, but that should free up plenty more growing space in the greenhouse. Right, so what first? we go. So we've got that piece there done. And I've just left that little bit, it's going to go all funny, isn't it, focus wise. I've left that bit there clear because, sorry for wavy cam, I've got to put a bit here between, and I've cleared that there for the same, just to overlap it. And then put the wood chip back over it nice, because it saves you having an edge that you can trip over, does that. And over here, all that's now got mulch over it, and it's covered back over. Yeah, and yeah, big compost heap needs a bit further to rot down. As we can see, I'm going to have to watch that next year, make sure I'm a bit more careful about the size of stuff that I put in. But yeah, at least this bit's sort of prepped now, which is nice. Shut my door for what it helps, because there's some kids playing out and yeah, they're enjoying themselves. Bless. I didn't end up really spending most of the time doing what I said were on my list, did I, today? But the reason for that was I got all the chicken poop out of the car. There were a couple of bags of rabbit poo, and that can go straight on top of the ground. It's not very hot, you know, with the nitrogen. It doesn't really burn your plants or anything. So I've put that straight on top wherever I found it, and opened up that big compost bin, because I thought, well, while this sheet's off, because it's a bit of a pain dragging it all, you know, getting everything out of the way of it and dragging it all the way up to the top. I thought, let's have a look in this compost bay then, because if there's some usable stuff, I can get this done now, can't I, in one go whilst I'm putting these couple of bags on. So that's what kind of went wrong, you know, I digressed, didn't I? But it's a good job done, although I must say that stuff in that big heap's still not very broken down, not as much as I would have liked. But when I got down to the bottom of it, I've actually uncovered a load of like little spruce typed branches, and then I realised this is not this last year, but the year before's Christmas tree trimmings. Now I do know that they take a long time to break down, but I think my theory must have been that heap's so big and I had so much stuff all in one go. I had the Christmas tree trimmings, loads of card, loads of wood chip, loads of grass. There were loads of stuff went in all in one go, and it did get really, really hot, did that. And I thought, well, that'll show you. You know, I thought it'd break down more than that, but it hasn't. Never mind. So some of the big stuff I found I've pulled out, and I might put it in here or in the shed to dry, and then I can put it on the fire pit. That, you know, that gets rid of it, doesn't it? So yeah, that stuff's it's not ideal. It's kind of still a bit pre-compost. There's some stuff in there, but I've kind of mixed it all up a bit as best I could. I've left it open for now because it might get rained on a bit this week, and there were some layers that were still quite ashy and dry in the bottom where it had got hot. So anyway, it can have a little bit of a sick and that, and then I've got to make a lid for it. I've got some stuff at home that I could use, but that one's huge. I think it's going to want something a little bit more engineering like constructing for it. That I'm going to have to probably make something. Hey, well, I had it on the list but they do say, don't they, like when you're doing your runner bean trenches, as was, you know, traditional kind of thing, that you can dig a long trench, put a load of like compostables in, like your trimmings from the house and whatnot, you know, your peelings and stuff, kind of mix it in, cap it back over, leave it to rot down, and then it's rocket fuel for your beans, is that. So I'm just wondering whether that pre-compost stuff that I've put on top of there now, because it's covered with the sheet and it'll get warm whenever the sun's on it and that sort of thing. And there were a lot of worms in it, which is a nice sign, really. I'm just thinking, my theory, again, is that it'll be okay, and that the worms will do a bit of a job on it, you know, because there's still a little bit of time before anything's going to be ready for putting in there. So I'm just gonna leave it, let it do its thing, and what will be will be. But it's on the surface, and underneath there is still some really good compost, and then the proper ground underneath. So, you know, if it's stuff like brassicas, that kind of thing, I mean, I was walking on it a bit to try and squidge it down. It's not as firm as it needs to be for brassicas, I don't think, but you can plant your brassicas nice and deep up to the first little leaves. So I might do that, and then they can actually get their roots down into the proper ground where they'll get anchored better. If you plant your brassicas in slightly sort of fluffy soil, I mean, you'd think it'd be nice because that tends to be what you think's nice for most plants, but brassicas, they do need to sort of anchor themselves really well into the ground because they're quite top heavy and they can rock a lot in the wind and whatnot. But I read that if it's in quite fluffy soil, that can be sometimes why they grow what they call blind, where they don't actually form a proper head on the top of them. That, you know, obviously is what you want, isn't it? So yeah, you could just end up with a load of leaves and not a lot forming. So I do want to make sure that they go into some decent ground. But where the purple sprouting broccoli netted bit is, and there's that little row of elephant garlic in there as well, the path bit between the two of them, I've sort of spread a little bit and coaxed it over that area, the mulch that I've just put on. So I am wondering whether, instead of doing like bit to planting, little bit of a path, bit to planting, that kind of thing, I'm thinking that bottom end I might just take over completely for planting in, so I can get another row up where the path was, and because that's firmer there's not as humpy lump of compost on top of it, it'll be straight into proper solid stuff underneath, well, that the proper soil. And that might be a reasonable theory, but I mean, I was saying I were going to put the sweet corn down that end. So again, I'm changing my plans, aren't I? I thought I'd put the sweet corn down that far end because the wind comes from the other direction, and I thought, well, if it goes past amaranth and, you know, broccolis and whatever, it might slow it down before it gets to the sweet corn. Or I suppose I could just protect it properly, couldn't I? I suppose there's that as well. So yeah, I've got a plan, and in the end I'm sort of going to get to it, but it's going to be like elaborated and made fluffy and, you know, messed about with, and it's going to just be adapted on the way, really, isn't it? I'm going to get to what I want to do, but not 100%, as I kind of keep saying. But, you know, that's the thing, isn't it, with putting things out into the ether. You think, oh, right, now I've manifested it or whatever, I'm going to have to do what I've said I'm going to have to do because I told everybody, but no, you don't, because this is still real life, isn't it? And you've just got to adapt and take it as it comes and that kind of thing. I mean, there will be sweet corn. I'm going to try brassicas. So let's say there will be brassicas. I'm going to give it a good go. I'm not right good at them. There's going to be potatoes somewhere. I mean, 5 types, isn't it? So, but yeah, I promised I was going to do broad beans, didn't I, today? Have I got time? It's dropping a bit dark. It's been a good day on it today, but a lot of compost turning. Oh, do we do them? Yeah, let me see if I can drag a bag of compost out. Last time I went for that bag, there were one of them massive spiders on it like this, waving at me. No, I was like, no, you're alright. You do whatever you're doing and I'll have it later. Yeah, I'll see if I can get a bag of compost out and build up beans. Alright, here we go. Hello. That bag of compost. Bag of loo rolls. What could be better of a Sunday? Anyway, let's get this dumped out. What did I see there? I don't think I want that, whatever that is, root. Probably bindweed, I think. I don't know where this compost came from. I mean, it's not fresh stuff out of that bag, it's something else, but I don't really know. It could be ericaceous. Anyway, it don't matter for now. Some worms in it. I mean, broad beans are so massive, they don't need fine compost. Right, so, broad beans. 5th of February. Sorry, I'm making a lot of noise, tucking my feet in. And apologies for the screaming, you know, it's the kids, I'm sure, are alright, but they're just playing. It's been such a nice day today. Yeah, it's felt really spring-like. I mean, hold your dog back, you know, don't get overexcited because it's not, is it yet? You know, it's still very, very early, but today's been a lovely day, so I think a lot of people have made the most of it. There's been loads of people up here for once, seen loads of people. Yeah, just trying to think now, how many people have we seen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. More than 6 people, but I'm classing one as 4 because, you know, family next door, there were 4 of them up. So yeah, like 6 other plot holders have been up here today, I've seen, which is nice, isn't it? It feels a little bit like growing starting again, rather than just, you know, winter with just me up here patrolling and whatever. So anyway, back to broad beans. I did about 45 plants last year, and that garnered 4.14 kilo, and that took some podding, that did. I mean, it's nice to have a good haul, isn't it? It were a bed full, one of the raised beds completely full, and I've not eaten them up as quick as I thought I might have done, so I'm only going to do, yeah, I am. I was just thinking, have I decided? Yeah, I have. I'm only going to do 20 plants this time round, and do like half a bed, and then maybe do more peas. I really enjoyed the peas last year. They were nice. I just did them to snack on up here, but in the end I managed to dry some and keep some of those as well. So we'll see. Maybe some beetroot, maybe a bit of early beetroot, possibly. Might be quite nice, because again, you know, that were on my wish list, wasn't it? All the beetroot. I want all the beetroot. Everybody's beetroot I want, because I just like beetroot. And I must get better at growing it this year. So what I'm going to do is, my loo rolls that I've saved through the year, that I squash them flat, and then I put them in one of these little Ziploc freezer bag thingies like that, so it all contains it. I'm just ramming compost into them, pretty much. You don't worry about folding the end over. You might have seen people doing this on bits of whatever, on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. You know, they sort of like tuck the ends over. You can do that if you're doing something little, like, you know, Nigella plant, something like that, if you must. But I just cram the compost in the bottom really tight, and you can pick it up and it don't fall out. You know, it's wet enough, it holds itself together. Because the broad beans have got that really long taproot that you seem to see that coming out the bottom before you see the top growth. So they do want to be in there with a nice depth of compost, but that can just be put straight in the ground when it's time to plant it. Or sometimes I do open it up if the roots aren't coming through it too much, because I don't really want to damage them. But I do sometimes just open it up to give it a bit more chance to get out. So yeah, let's do one anyway. I'm going to put plenty in here. Oh, a worm went in. No, I don't really want to squash worms in if I can, so I'll start again. Yeah, just keeping an eye out. So I'm just going to poke it down to the bottom. And then, because you can pick it up like that, I'm just going to put it on my hand so I can squash it in really nicely. And that'll give the root something nice and firm to go into. And you can poke it from that end and all if you want, and then, you know, squish a bit more in like that, just to make it nice and firm. So I mean, that's fine. That's going to sit in a tray. You know, you're not going to be flipping juggling with it, are you? But yeah, that's going to sit in a tray and be absolutely fine. Don't worry about wasting your depth and folding ends over. So when I've got about inch and a quarter, I think, there. So you can sort of see, can you see there, that level? I put the soil into about there, and I'm just going to poke the bean in there and then top the rest up, because really I want more depth below it than I want above it. So I suppose you could say that's going to be about 2 beans deep by the time I've squashed it in and squashed the compost on top. Yeah, about 2 beans deep, I'd say. So I think I'll go through all these and I'll get them all filled up first, and I'll go get the beans. There we go. So have I got enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. She can count. Yay. Yeah, some of them are a bit, look at that narrow little thing there compared to, I don't know. Anyway, it don't matter. Broad beans, they're not fussed, you know, they're happy beans. They are. I think they're happy beans. They just want to grow. Yeah, let's have a look at what I've got. This tool's specifically for broad beans, not just beans. Right, yes. Oh, them from last year. Oh, I've got new. Oh, it says 15 left. So, this is fun. It says 15 left, sowed 25th of January 22 on this packet. I must have thought, I'll do that, and then I can, at a glance, I'll know how many I need to order. So I only want 5, don't I, out of my new ones. And then I've got enough for next year too, haven't I? If I don't save any. Yeah. So I want 20 plants and I'm planting 20. Now, a lot of the time, if you want however many plants, it's a good insurance policy to plant a few more. But my experience of beans in general, really, they're normally pretty reliable. You know, if you've got seed that's not too old. I mean, these are only last year's, but what I would say is have a good look through them and just make sure there's no little holes in it, because you can get a little weevil that bores into it. And yeah, you might have some nasty pests, and you might have a bean that's not viable. That's just a little wrinkle on that, it's not a hole. Yeah, so that's what I would say, is just check them over, make sure they all look good. And now, it's another how do you say it moment, isn't it? This one, super, I call it aqua dulce. That's what I've just always called it that. I might be being a heathen and massacring whatever. Is it Italian? Is it? I don't know. But anyway, there's the aqua dulce Claudia, isn't there? That's a really good staple winter crop, is that. Well, I say winter crop, it's not. It's a one that you sow like late autumn, is that. So it can put a bit of growth down and a bit of top growth up, and it'll sit through winter, and they're really hardy. But I've lost them before. I lost them in March. Thought I dropped one then on floor. I'd never find it would I? Yeah, I lost them one March a couple of years ago. I think I mentioned this before, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but yeah, it snowed and then it stopped frosty for a while. I think it were cold for, I think it were a couple of weeks. It were really quite cold, and it just did for them, blackened them all. So I don't bother now, really. You know, I don't want a crop a couple of weeks earlier or 4 weeks earlier. I'd rather just sow it and have the crop, really, and get on with something else. So I save it anyway. Save it till late winter, early spring kind of thing. And like I say, 25th of March last year, 25th of January last year, 5th of February this year. So yeah, a couple of weeks out nearly, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, and let's have a look. I'll just pop them there and show you like this little one there, where we're kind of down to, where are we at? About here. Yeah, soil about there-ish. And I'm just all I'm gonna do is sort of squish him in. I'm poking him in now, that way. I'm just putting him on his end, on his long end, like that. That's all I'm doing. I'm just gonna sort of bob him in there, so he's just slightly hiding. It looks like one of them Revels sweets. I don't tweet again, I'm terrible, aren't I? I'm hungry now. Yeah, so I'm going to poke it in like that. Compost right at top, squish it in like I've done squishing in bottom. See, that won't falling out, were it? Like a sandcastle, it won't falling out, so don't worry about it. Yeah, and that's how we're going to do them all. Right, let's do it. Because it's getting dark. Let's squish it. Squish it. Come a bit closer. She strikes again. There were 17, not 15. I don't know. Right, so I only need 3 out of my new packet. Fair enough. He's a big one. Look at that. This guy compared to this. Oh. I'll put him in big pot. Right, and then we just top them up. Nice and easy. There we go, all topped up. I've just swapped tubs again. I decided to put them in this little old baking tray because it's got no holes in the bottom of it. That other one did. I suddenly thought, oh, I've got to water them a bit, haven't I? So yeah, I've just put them in this little one, and this is my one that my propagator lid goes on. So I'm just going to sort of water between them if I can, you know, without spilling it all over too much. Just get some water in the bottom of this tray, kind of all between them. See, a bit much there. Try and even it all up a bit. Yeah, because there's quite a lot of compost. I mean, it has a little bit of dampness to it anyway. But just thinking this has to get wicked right up to fairly near the top, doesn't it? You know, where the beans are. So I've just put a reasonable little bit of water in the bottom of here. And yeah, so it can soak all the way up now, get to the bean, and the bean's going to go, all right, time to wake up and do something. Yeah, and it'll not be long before these are through. Just thinking time of year that it is now. Well, it depends, doesn't it, what, you know, what weather and stuff's coming, but I mean, we might see them in a week, but I would imagine definitely within 2 weeks. And you know, as soon as they show, they put on loads of growth then. So I think, yeah, within 2 weeks we'll have a nice little tiny little baby plant showing here. And the roots do start coming through the side of the loo roll tubes as well. But I mean, I've never found that a problem. Even when they start growing into each other a little bit, I gently separate them and just plant them out. And last year's were fine. Last year's did amazing. So yeah, they were clearly okay. Yeah, but happy beans that just want to grow. They're no real bother. Nice crop, lovely crop. And of course you can eat the little growing tips as well, can't you? You know, if you're not a mad keen bean fan of the actual bean, the little top bits are delightful. And you can just sort of chuck them into pasta just when you've finished your sauce and mixed it all together. You can chuck it in and not really cook it, just let it wilt a little bit, and they're lovely and fresh. Just check them over for bugs. Yeah, so I'll get my little lid on this and finish getting packed up, because yeah, we're losing light now, it's getting dark. Oh, we go, bedtime, little buddies. Yeah, there we go, little lid on. Exciting, isn't it? Yeah, so I was saying once, I've sown my habaneros. I've sown a couple of lots of onions as these. Sweet peas are not far off, they're round corner. I don't bother doing them autumn either, because I've said a few times, you might have heard this joke before, but it's not really a joke, 'cause it's true. They'd been germinated quite a while, they were growing really nicely, and then anyway I went to check on them and Kat had found them, hadn't she? And of course you know what cats do when they find a nice bit of soil. On windowsill. On windowsill as well. I'm not repeating that. I'm not repeating that, no way. So yeah, I'm doing them. I'm going to do them here because they'll germinate cold as well, coldish, you know, out here. Yeah, and that's it. There's a beautiful sunset going on. Is my face looking pink because of it? Maybe. I'm gonna see if I can pick it up on camera, because I might not be able to. But let's go out and just do that, because that's delightful. Is that? It's been such a lovely day today. It's felt so. Oh, I'm going to say it, invigorating. Sorry. You know, when I get my merch eventually when I'm famous, I'm only kidding. But, you know, invigoration, something like that. I think that'll have to be it, won't it? Yeah, let's look at this sunset and stop waffling and show you this. That's nice. Gorgeous. So thank you again for watching, even though it is in the pitch black a bit, isn't it, at the moment. It's really dark now, so I'm going to get the shed locked up and get off home. And please leave me a comment, let me know, have you sown your broad beans yet? Do you do them in loo rolls like I do? What do you do? And hit the like button, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Wobbly, golly, you are wobbly. They'll be alright like that. Excuse me, just wiping my nose. Oh, I need to water doings. What are we on about? They're coming on nice. The mustards are looking lovely. I shouldn't have mentioned that because you're going to want to see them, aren't you? And I'm not going to show you. Anyway, I'll cut that bit out of it. I'm looking for a lid and it's here. Can you see it? Hang on, wait. It's there. I brought it in already.